listening to The Motherhood Experience, a podcast where you are part of the conversation with moms, for moms, and by moms. Let's jump into this episode with me, your host, Val Kleppen. Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Motherhood Experience podcast. I'm your host, Val. So thrilled to have you joining me today, where we are doing part 2 of the Parenting Perspectives series. I got so much positive feedback from the first one. Thank you all so much. You're so kind. And I love hearing from you on any episode, but especially one where I'm kind of pouring out a bit of myself and my parenting past and all of that. It was so great to hear how much you enjoyed it. So thank you for that. You're hearing this the first Tuesday in March. I'm recording this in the middle of February, where I have been sick since the 31st of January. So it's been a very long 2 weeks. I thought, I have a couple hours just to myself this afternoon. What would help me feel better? Recording a Motherhood Experience podcast. So that's what I'm doing today. I had Andrea Bocelli playing over the speakers in the house earlier today, and it's just so hard to be worked up or anxious when you're listening to Andrea Bocelli. It's like when you're feeling amped up about something and you just need to take a breath and chill, turn on Andrea Bocelli. Thank me for the tip later. As always, if you haven't subscribed or you're not yet following us on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, I encourage you to do that. Leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts. That helps so tremendously. In fact, I would like to read. This review was amazing. I don't know who this person is, and I didn't even see it until maybe just a couple of days ago. Frankly, I didn't even know I could see. I didn't even know I could see reviews. I thought I could just know that I had them. Let's see. Okay, so this podcast review, thank you to Sarai. I'm probably butchering that. Was just left in December of last year. I've never seen this until a couple of days ago. But the title is, I plan to listen to more. Thank you. I hope you are listening to more. And it's just the best, most honest review. I don't usually listen to podcasts because either the host's voice is annoying or he or she repeats things multiple times and doesn't get to the point. She's not wrong, okay? I feel like this presenter does a good job. She seems kind, friendly, and directs the conversation well. I plan to listen to more episodes. Thank you so much for leaving me a review and honest feedback. There's not much I can do about my voice if it is annoying, but I am assuming from your review that you don't think that it is, and so I appreciate that. Also, I'm assuming this review is from Holly. She's just going to keep getting shout outs, but she left me a review as well. Val has a unique way of chatting mamas, making them feel seen and heard, which in turn allows us, the lucky listeners, to feel like we're sitting in a chat with some friends. Absolutely love. Holly, I absolutely love you as well. So it's simple to leave a review. It really helps us get in front of other podcast listeners. And why not share a little joy, spread a little joy in the world of podcast listening, where today we are continuing with the Parenting Perspective series. Now, the first episode, if you missed it and you don't know what I'm talking about, was back in the first Tuesday of February. I started a series where I'll just be reading the first Tuesday of every month through articles that I wrote a decade ago when I was writing for a newspaper, just sharing my views on parenting in that season, in that moment. I have not reread them since. When I read them on the episode, I'm reading them for the first time. It brings up a lot of memories for me. Last episode, it made me laugh several times, which is always good when you get your own jokes, right? So we're just going to continue that today with episode 2. We left off in 2015 last time. So we'll at least finish 2015 today in today's episode. I don't know if we'll start the year 2016 or not, but we will at least finish 2015, where this one, it looks like, is from August of 2015. Again, no titles yet, so I don't know what they're called or what they're about until I start reading them. Every now and then, I'll see a parenting post come across my news feed meant to encourage moms. The point usually implies while kids will be kids and leave handprints all over your glass or porcelain services, food caked to their face and yours, and draw on the wall with crayon or the permanent marker they found, that essentially you're just going to throw your head back and laugh that supermom laugh, hug the kids, and start drawing on the wall with them. Because we're all like the moms in commercials, and our kids will only be little for a short time, so we need to enjoy every single moment. And you know what? If you don't let your kids express their creative freedoms or smear their chewed food on your glasses, then heaven have mercy on your soul. I might be the only mom in this camp, but sometimes those articles highlight my feelings of failure as a mother. Pinterest is akin to a swear word in my home. We do no crafts outside of coloring in already made coloring books, or painting, or cutting shapes out of important mail Little Miss found and didn't think I needed. I'm not that mom who turns wall drawings into memorable murals. If there's so much as squished bug guts on our wall, we could risk our deposit. Call me high-strung, but I don't enjoy every single moment because some of them stink. Okay, now this brings up at this time, August of 2015, we were in between houses, as I like to say, and we were renting an apartment. We were on the first floor of an apartment, and there were like 1,000 of our best friends in the building with us. And that was a very stressful time in itself. So yeah, I was freaking out about getting our deposit back, which is a whole nother story that I did not write a column about and probably won't share on the podcast. But renting is stressful. So I'm just here to say, if you are a mom, especially renting, and your kids are like doing stuff in the apartment, it's stressful. All right, where was I? Sometimes when I throw my head back, it's not in a lighthearted laugh. It's to breathe deep and count to 5 before I lose my mind. Sometimes when I catch Little Miss doing something I've asked her 40 bajillion times not to do, I come a little undone. Sometimes when I can't go to the bathroom without company, I cry a little. And frankly, I don't always find it enjoyable changing 8 poopy diapers in one day. That's a bit much, little man. Sometimes I yell at my kids. I yell because they're about to do something that will get them hurt, and I'm saving their life. Or sometimes I raise my voice in an accelerated fashion because if I hear whining about wanting to watch Jake and the Neverland Pirates one more time, Mama's going to have an aneurysm. All right, I like Jake and the Neverland Pirates. Also, if you were praying for me in this season of my life, thank you so much. Thank you so much. You don't even know. Okay, this isn't how every day goes, of course. I've had an abundance of melt your heart moments, and mothering is one of the most rewarding occurrences I could have ever hoped for in my life. I love my kids more than sunshine. I can't get enough snuggles or kisses some days. I look into the eyes of my littles and am overcome with awe and gratitude that these precious people are mine to care for. I also don't think mothering is always easy. There are times my children, who I birthed, nursed, and completely fawn over, push buttons I didn't even know I had. There are hard parenting lessons. There are teachable moments I am completely unprepared for. There are frets and fears I've worried about over my children that have made me physically ill. It's hard to be a mom when you have to watch your kids suffer and there's nothing you can do to fix it. It's hard to watch your child fall and you realize your kisses don't have magical healing powers. It's hard to cook dinner while wearing 40-pound ankle weights who happen to be telling you they don't like spaghetti. I've realized it's okay to struggle. It's okay to admit the bad days are bad and the good days are glorious. It's okay to rejoice at nap time. I've realized it's okay to teach my kids to respect property and people and potty time privacy. I don't have to enjoy every single moment, but I will embrace them. Tough, tender, and every moment in between, I will embrace them. Mothering is tough. It's also amazing, and both of those are okay. Enjoy the moments that are enjoyable and embrace the rest as part of your reality. Then share with me how to get a picky kid to eat spaghetti. They both like spaghetti now. I don't know what their deal was then. So the very next month, September of 2015, oh boy, I sent my baby girl off to her first day of kindergarten, and it was nothing short of a miracle she didn't have my fingers permanently implanted in her shoulders as she boarded the bus that morning. It's hard to watch your children grow up. Your job as a parent is to raise independent, confident children. Yet, when they gain that independence and rocket behind a smile and oversized lunchbox, boarding a gigantic school bus, it's a little dagger to the parent's heart. It was especially hard for me to relinquish control on her first day of school. She was boarding a bus without a seat belt or a booster, driven by someone other than her daddy or me, going to a school to be taught by a teacher we don't yet have a relationship with, surrounded by peers we don't yet know. If anything happened to her, I wouldn't be there to prevent or assess or aid. If anything happened to her, ... It's more than being innocently neurotic. When our daughter Harlan died, parental fear not only gripped my heart, but carved out a permanent dwelling place. My naivety and ignorance was stripped away, trying to figure out how to live in a world where your children can die, where you can't be a super parent and protect them, where the worst possible thing is absolutely possible. Here I was, sending Harlan's big sister, Little Miss, away to kindergarten, away to a world of all new, worst possible things. I barely made it back to the van that morning before I turned into a puddle of ugly cry mess. I fervently prayed protection over my not-so-baby girl through my unintelligible sobbing noises. I went to lunch with a friend and cried there at the table in a public restaurant. I felt like I needed to address the other diners and say, I just sent my oldest child to kindergarten today, as if they would understand the emotional storm that was taking place inside my heart and coming to life through my tear ducts. I was counting down the minutes until I could pick Little Miss up from her bus stop that afternoon. With a bright smile across her face, she shouted, Mama! And ran into my open, waiting arms. How was your first day of school? I asked. Awesome, she answered. What was your favorite part about today? I pressed. Can I tell you my least favorite part first? I caught my breath in my throat as I tried to squeak out an approachable sure without letting myself cry again. I was thinking of all the terrible things she could have encountered on her first day of school. I got hot and sweaty, she answered. My sigh of relief was palpable. Thank you, Lord. Thank you for protecting my little miss today. Thank you for allowing her to enjoy her first day immensely, and for the worst thing she experienced being a little glow from the heat and humidity. Thank you, thank you, thank you, God. She excitedly rapid-fired the details of her day while we drove home. I could hear the joy in her voice. Kindergarten was the coolest thing she had ever experienced. I couldn't compete. And I realized in that moment it wasn't my role to compete. If I compete with her life experiences, I'm simply cheating her out of them. She's been in school nearly a month now, and it's gradually getting easier for me to send her off in the mornings. The fear in my own heart is being pushed aside by hopes, aspirations, and dreams for her in each new day at school. I still have no assurance or guarantee the worst won't ever happen, but I have this moment today where I can see her smile, hear all about her day, and know that these are the moments my motherhood was meant for. You guys, I'll be honest. Fear after Harlan died gripped me for a very, very long time. I want to say 2015. Now I can't remember the year, but I know that there was a season here in the apartment where I was so gripped by fear, and because it was PTSD from burying our child, and I was just afraid that everything terrible was going to happen to everyone I loved, and I struggled immensely. I don't remember having lunch with anyone that day. If it was you, let me know. I have no doubt that I would have cried during that lunch. I very much remember we knew the bus driver, and when Haley got on the bus, he asked me something about crying yet or something, and it was all I could do to hold it together in that moment. And then he asked me about crying, and I was like, you jerk. And I just walked. I didn't say that, but I thought it. And I walked back to the van, the mama van, and just fell apart. Yeah, that was rough. This one's not as entertaining as the last episode. but it's still important, and it was a very defining season in my life for sure. All right. Next one, November of 2015. I'm not sure how it's already November. Time has slipped far too fast, and I'm sure it has something to do with the home visits and audiology appointments that have filled our schedule this year. Little man was born with a significant hearing loss. He failed his hearing test after birth, and after more extensive testing was done, we were informed he had a moderate to severe hearing loss in both ears and would require hearing aids. I cried. If you know me at all, that shouldn't come as a surprise. It's a hard pill to swallow, my baby boy having to go through life with hearing aids. Would he be made fun of? Would he develop in speech normally? Would this target him for bullying? You know, typical questions you ask about your newborn baby when you're a little neurotic like I am. I prayed for a miracle. I prayed his hearing would be restored and we could walk out of the audiologist's office leaving them completely bewildered with how he overcame his hearing loss. That miracle hasn't happened yet. The truth is, however, his hearing has improved some. He's been downgraded to a mild to moderate loss instead, which is good news for his mama. He still requires hearing aids, though, and this has opened up a whole new world for us. I myself suffer from a hearing loss I've had since birth. It wasn't discovered until I was in grade school, and I've never worn hearing aids, save for a few-day trial, and I took them back because it was sensory overload. Pause to interject. All these years later, guess who's wearing hearing aids now? Yeah, fun. I struggle to hear high and low pitches. I can't hear crickets. Once we had one in our bedroom, but my husband didn't tell me because he knew I'd make him look for it. Apparently, it chirped for a week. Little man has the flip side to my hearing loss. He struggles with the mid-range sounds, which is where most speech development takes place. Hard consonants like C's, D's, T's, S's, etc. are challenging for him to differentiate. In order for a child's speech to properly develop, you have to say words something like 4,000 times each. For a child with a hearing loss, that number doubles. I have no problem thinking of things to say, but it can get a little tiresome repeating things like, this is your sock, sock, sock. Let's put your sock on your foot. Nice sock. We want so desperately for him to learn and develop as normally as possible, however, so we're of course willing to be broken records. It's a small price to pay. The other day, I was feeling especially domestic and set to work baking several desserts of the apple variety. As I chopped and peeled and measured and poured, I turned into my own cooking show, verbalizing each step as I went along. I wanted him to hear me. I wanted him to hear the words I was using and see how they related to the actions I was doing. I wanted him to do the dishes too, but we haven't gotten that far yet. He engages in conversation. He has a dozen or so words we understand clearly. We know based on his responses he's hearing and understanding what we say. These milestones most take for granted are especially monumental for us. We only occasionally still struggle with him pulling his aids out of his ears and hiding them in impossible nooks and crannies of the sofa. It's rough being 18 months old and having to wear things in your ears all day. Truth be told, I've never seen anyone make hearing aids so adorable as he does. I still pray for the miracle of hearing restoration. I still trust that God is a God who can heal my son's ears. In the meantime, however, I'm happy to do whatever it takes to keep little man on track with hearing, speaking, and learning. I will repeat, I love you, as many times as it takes to make sure he hears and believes me. Raise your hand if you didn't know little man had a hearing loss. Raise both hands if you didn't know that his mother had a hearing loss. But it's true. And now I'm in the hearing aid club. My son and I both have extra ear accessories. December 2015. Thanksgiving is behind us and Christmas just around the corner. I love these holidays and I love the traditions we've started with our little family. The holidays are sometimes a double-edged sword for me, however, and for most bereaved parents. I can't help but think of the parents who've lost their children just this year who are spending their first holidays without them. Those firsts are always so hard. Harder still is when a full year passes and you have no more firsts after those last. The mail becomes inundated with family pictures from everyone you've ever known, but your pictures will now always have a missing member. The chaos unfolding in the stores as people scramble for gifts as you wander in a daze, wondering what your child would have liked, would have asked for, would have put on their list. Pardon my voice, it's still recovering from being sick. Don't get me wrong, there is life after loss. There's joy, hope, laughter. It does return. Life does go on, albeit so much differently from what it was before. There are different kinds of firsts, different kinds of memories, different traditions started. But there are always those chunks of a bereaved parent's heart that start to ache when the holidays roll around. Every Christmas, we hang a tiny pink stocking. I write a letter to Harlan on Christmas Eve and put it in that pink stocking. It stays unopened, unread. Every year, a new one is added to the letters already inside. I'm not sure if I'll ever read them, but I probably won't ever stop writing them. Spoiler, I have stopped writing them. We have special ornaments, most all of them gifted to us, representing her as part of our family, part of our Christmas. Little Miss and I are in charge of decorating. We hang the Harlan ornaments first, front and center on the tree. Thanksgiving Day and Christmas Day during our family meal, we burn a candle and set it at an empty spot on our table. For dessert, Little Miss and I always bake cookies to frost with purple frosting. Purple is Harlan's special color. One way or another, she joins us at our table. I can't tell you what it has meant to us and what it continues to mean to us when others think of Harlan and include her in our holidays. When we get an ornament or a present, a donation to Harlan's heart in her honor, I can't tell you what it means to know she is remembered. Every year, an aunt and uncle of mine in Alabama purchase a white poinsettia in remembrance of Harlan. I cry every time my aunt sends me the picture. Not tears of sadness, so much as they're tears of appreciation. Every year on our Christmas cards, we sign our names and include, always remembering Harlan on the bottom. Our family pictures include our Harlan bear. She's very much a part of our holiday traditions, yet simultaneously, we have a big piece of our family missing without her here. Some families don't have these same opportunities, however. For whatever reason, and there are lots of them, they're unable to include their children who have passed away. As we head into Christmas and the hustle and bustle of the season, I'd ask you to give pause. If you know someone who lost their child, send them a note. Write their child's name and tell them you're thinking of them and remembering their child this Christmas. Give them an ornament in remembrance of the child or children they lost. Bake cookies and take them over to your friend's house. Sit on their sofa with them while they verbalize how they're going to try to cope this holiday season. Remember that sometimes the most wonderful time of the year brings heartache for some of those closest to you. Most importantly, don't shy away from them because they're hurting. If you want to give them something meaningful and special this Christmas, give them your attention. Give them your time. Give them a hug. Give them the gift of remembering their children. Well, I really can't argue with that. That is important. It's also very interesting to me. So I don't read these beforehand. And the first half of 2015 articles were quite jovial and silly. And then we get into the fall and winter holiday season, and they take on a much more serious, lamenting type of tone. But yeah, that's where I was. Let's launch into 2016. I would like to laugh at least a couple more times in this episode and not have it be heavy. This is January of 2016. Happy New Year, everybody. We just returned from another cross-country trek to surprise my dad for his 60th birthday. It's hard for me to wrap my mind around the fact that my own dad is 60, simply for the fact it makes me feel older than I think I am. I was glad we were able to make the trip, though, even if it meant 11 hours in the car one way for the two little kiddos. My dad is a pretty swell guy. I'm sure most doting daughters say the same about their dads, but I've had 35 years with him and can say his flaws only keep him grounded. His 3 siblings, a couple of his nieces, and his dad, Grandpa will be 90 in March, all flew in, and my brood drove across a couple of states to surprise him for his milestone birthday. I was so concerned our cover would be blown. I didn't even tell little Miss until we were almost on the interstate where we were going and for what purpose. I couldn't risk her excitedly sharing with someone who would post on my Facebook wall, which would be seen by one of my hometown friends who would inadvertently run into my dad. So we kept it very hush hush. That is the truth about small town living. And if you're from a small town, you know that's true. You can say one thing to one person, it doesn't matter, you're 3 states away, and somehow your parents in your small town find out. Dad couldn't have been more surprised, though, and we were all relieved to not have to keep our plans a secret anymore. My dad's family is still very close, and anytime they're together, they pick up as if they've never been apart. Growing up, we were separated from them by only a couple hours' drive, but frequently got together. It was rare to go an extended period of time without seeing them. All these years later, getting together with my aunts, uncles, cousins, and grandpa feels as though almost no time has passed at all between visits. My sister has 2 boys, and little Miss adores her cousins. Little man doesn't quite understand who they are, but he enjoys their company nonetheless. It saddens me to some degree they spent most of their childhood separated by a great distance. When they're together, they play incessantly and run themselves ragged, and it's a wonderful perk at bedtime to have your children ready to fall asleep. On one particular night during our visit, when the surprise for Dad had reached its peak, we were all sitting around the table sharing stories and laughing until our sides ached. I laughed so hard my head hurt the next morning. I so appreciate being at the stage in my life where I can both listen to the stories being shared and contribute a few of my own as well. Sitting across the table from Dad, I gave a bit of pause. Lord willing, if I reach my 60th birthday and beyond, will my family gather to have as great a time as we did? Will my children laugh until their heads hurt at hearing and sharing stories about my life? Will my family enjoy coming together to celebrate my milestones? I want to be the kind of parent worth celebrating. I want to be the kind of parent my children will happily drive all day to surprise. I want to be the kind of parent who can not only share a funny story, but also impart wise counsel and guidance upon my children. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know if my kids will be able to grow up any closer to their cousins than they are now. I do know, though, I want to continue a legacy of genuine relationship and authentic love for our family, the same as has been modeled for my sister and me. Happy birthday, Dad. Aw, well, good news. My sister, my nephews, my kids, we all live within 30 miles. Yay, future. All right, someone's texting me. Hold on, my mom is texting me. Real quick. My mom is texting me, asking me where the gun show is, and I so want to text her the arm flex emoji and see if she gets it. You know what I'm saying? Where's the gun show? And then I flex my arms and just say, I'm doing it right here. But then I'm going to text her for real. Just kidding. I did it. We'll see if she gets it. She probably won't get it. Okay, I'm just glancing at these. She says, no, silly. She did get it. All right. Yeah. How much time are we at here? I don't know. I feel like I should stop. This one was not as funny as the last one, and that bothers me. It probably doesn't bother you, but it bothers me. Unless I could read, like, because I'm just glancing through these right now. If I read 3 more. All right. Let's just go for it. Here we go. March of 2016. It's birthday season in our family. Little Miss celebrates on March 21st. It's hard to believe it was 6 years ago she made her grand entrance 2 months prematurely. Our journey in parenting got a rocky start for sure. She's still pretty petite, but what she lacks in size, she makes up for in mature, pointed sass. We'll have a house full of company, and little Miss and her friends will spend their time in an environment capable of handling their energy and enthusiasm after a hefty helping of frosting and some sprinkles. It's hard to believe the little girl who made me a mother is heading into her 6th birthday. The years go so quickly, even as some of the days drag their feet. She is an absolute light and joy in our lives, though, and seeing her with her daddy is enough to make her mother's heart melt. We don't need any excuses to celebrate her, but we're happy to make the special occasions all the more meaningful. She has a heart of passionate sensitivity and mercy, and simply seeing someone else cry can start her own tears flowing. She loves to be loved, and we love nothing more than letting her know how very loved she is. What should be Harlan's third birthday follows suit on April 10th. It's a different kind of celebration we have that day. We celebrate we were chosen to be her family and that we now get to carry the torch of her legacy through the remainder of our own lives. We'll go to the cemetery and sing happy birthday at her grave, leave her a cupcake, and then I'll go into a bit of an emotional tailspin. I'll stay up until 12:16 a.m. on the 10th, the time of her delivery. I'll remember as many details as have etched themselves in the folds of my memory, and I'll miss her intensely. It's not without joy, though, that we remember her birthday. My heart will always ache for not having her here with us, but it beats so much harder with the honor of having the chance to be her mother. 2 weeks later, we'll celebrate the second birthday of little man, our rough and tumble man's man in the body of a tiny little boy. I panicked when they told us we were having a boy at our appointment as I lay on the bed at my 14-week appointment with the perinatologist. I was raising a princess of all princesses, had to bury our second daughter, and didn't have the faintest idea what to do with a boy. It didn't matter, though. Little man has had me wrapped fast around his finger from the start. His strong will gives little miss a run for her money, not to mention how it wears me down to a tired mess, waving a white flag of surrender toward the end of the day. But he is also one of the most tender, compassionate, loving souls I've ever known. In 1 month's time, we celebrate 3 lives. We play and party, and we give pause and necessary introspection. It's both the happiest and saddest seasons in our home. That said, though, we know there is a celebration yet to come, incomparable to themed decorations or party hats, or games and favor bags. One day we'll celebrate all our lives in the light of Jesus' resurrection, and a heavenly reunion where our tears, happy or sad, will be dried. And that will be the most anticipated of any birthday celebration. Well, amen to that. This one is April of 2016. And this one is going to be a heavy one. So I'm going to read this one. Well, I'm assuming it's going to be a heavy one. And then I'm going to read the next one because that looks like a little bit lighter. And we'll end on a lighter note. Get your tickets to the gun show. Okay. It took a lot of strength. Oh, did I say already? April of 2016? I think I did. It took a lot of strength and an even heftier dose of courage to walk through the doors of church on Sunday, April 10th. Harlan would have been 3 years old that day. We had been keeping a low profile over the weekend, trying to restore our family's health after battling a bug, and we also got news my nephew had to be hospitalized for what we'd later learn was a diagnosis of epilepsy. Our emotions were pretty fragile, or at least mine were, when I crossed the threshold of the church doors Sunday morning. Sometimes it feels too recent to believe 3 years have passed. Other times, it feels as if I've lived an entire lifetime in the window of 3 years. Sunday brought a lot of mixed emotions to the table, and I wasn't entirely keen on crying in front of other people again. I know not everyone who saw me blubbering in the pew knew the reason behind it, but enough knew and understood I needed some extra TLC. That's the beauty of community. That's the beauty of letting others love you. Whether or not they know what you need, they know how they can love you, and it almost always works out to be the same thing. As I buried my face in my hands, I was hugged. I had people placing their hands on my shoulders. I had understanding squeezes. This is making me a little emotional. I had arms around me. I had verbal encouragement to grieve well, let the tears come. I had support. I had a family. Our blood family is hundreds of miles away, so our church has filled a lot of gaps over the years in supporting us. It was no different April 10th. Being a parent is hard work. It is ultimately rewarding, but those rewards don't come without difficulties and challenges. Being a bereaved parent is harder work still. How do you satiate the need to parent a child you can't hold in your arms? It can feel lonely, isolating, and a little like you're going crazy when you're trying to strike a balance between being present for your family and longing to make the all too short life of your deceased child more meaningful than a date on a headstone. That's where community can make all the difference. Not everyone who has supported us has experienced loss like ours, but their hearts ache for us all the same. A mom's or dad's night out is incredibly important while raising children. Connecting with others who get it and having that time to unwind is essential in keeping your sanity. It's all the more important to have that same kind of network surround you in love and support as you grieve for the child you wish were here to drive you bonkers. We've had people come alongside us in incredibly meaningful ways, and their compassion has left lasting imprints on our hearts. It took a lot of courage for me to go to church and expose my bleeding heart to the rest of the congregants, but I'm thankful they exercised their own courage in stepping out of their comfort zone to extend comfort to us. It's been a wild 3 years. Our parenting journey looks nothing at all like what we imagined it would. It would look even scarier were it not for those who have partnered with us in life and walked alongside, encouraging us, providing for us, and praying for us. Yes, parenting is tough. Bereaved parenting is unnavigable territory. But thank God for a community, a family, who will stand beside us as we find our footing, no matter our struggle. Another hearty amen. I'm trying really hard not to get choked up reading these, you guys. Remember when I thought that reading parenting perspectives columns would be fun? All right, one more. This one looks like it's not so heavy. Please, Lord, let me lighten up a little bit just for ending this episode. 2016, May. Is being an introverted parent a disservice to my kids? Don't answer that. I probably don't want to know. We're frequently invited to play date events and other outings heavy on social interaction and lots of kids. I'm usually able to decline without a second thought because I do have a work schedule I need to maintain and a 2-year-old's nap schedule I'm not keen on disrupting. I'm okay with being that mom who doesn't give her children free rein over their free time because I have a life and purpose to maintain as well. But sometimes I get a little carried away with my need to protect my time and space with my own 2 littles. The other day, my husband asked me what activities we were going to enroll little Miss in. My stomach dropped a bit. The thought of a bunch of children and their parents in one place while I would be forced to interact with people I don't know and wait until practice or performance ended made me cringe. I partially blame it on my own childhood. I did whatever I could to get out of such situations. Being around other kids because I had to gave me anxiety. If I was around them, I wanted it to be by choice, not by directive. I wasn't always this introverted. Something changed in me after we lost Harlan in 2013, though. I still love speaking and presenting, but conversation in a small talk setting makes me feel inadequate as a human being, and especially as a parent. I don't look for opportunities to get my children involved in anything extracurricular because I want to stay in my own parenting bubble. The opportunities I look for are chances to snuggle my kids a little closer, read Goodnight Train for the bazillionth time, and make up funny stories just to hear them giggle. Just the 3 of us, little Miss, little man, and Mama. There are always exceptions, but the majority of the time, someone says, quote, play date, and I hear, quote, maternal anxiety attack. My husband, who is far more an introvert than I am, doesn't let it carry over into his parenting. He's all about fun experiences with our kids and other people and their kids, and I sneak away to a secluded corner with chips and dip. No, sorry, I can't engage in small talk with you because my mouth is full of chips for the whole time I'm standing here. Maybe one day I'll outgrow this, or maybe this is just how I'm called to parent. Hopefully they'll love me just as much for living room tickle wars and wrestling matches as other kids love their mamas for park playdates and public birthday parties. And if I have to engage in group activities, I'll bring the chips and dip. Hey, you can count on me for chips and dip. Invite me to your party. If I say yes, I'll stand in a corner and love me anyway. Actually, I will say over the years, people have really come to know this about me, and they're so cool about it, and they respect it, and I respect them so much for it because there isn't pressure on me. Like they just know, and they know it's nothing against them. It's not reflective of them. It's just like, hey. But then sometimes you never know when it's going to happen. when the spotlight comes on, and I just really enjoy standing in it the whole time. So there's that. Anyway, thank you for coming on this journey with me of parenting perspectives, or that's not even a word, for coming on this journey with me of parenting perspectives. We made it through May of 2016. Still no titles on these, so I don't know what that's about. But we've got at least one more no, we've got more than one more episode. So the first, we've got plenty more. The first Tuesday of the month is when I'm going to do this. We've got at least 2 more episodes, I would say. So another episode in April and another episode in May, and that might wrap up our Parenting Perspectives series. But until then, thank you for coming along on this journey with me, walking back down memory lane. I hope that anything I have written and read is helpful or beneficial or enlightening or entertaining or some combination of all of the above. Remember to like, follow, subscribe, share all of the things so that we can get in front of more people with this podcast that has become one of my true joys in hosting. I can't wait for you to meet next week's guest. It's going to be an exciting episode. And until then, stay tuned. Happy mothering. God bless. Thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of the Motherhood Experience podcast. To join our exclusive TME community, head over to themotherhoodexperience.com/learn more. Be sure to follow The Motherhood Experience on Facebook or Instagram, and please leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, leave us a comment below, and we'll catch you next time.